If you're an online tutor struggling to scale past your next revenue goal, it's not through lack of effort, motivation, or because it's not possible to break through that ceiling. It's because one number in your funnel is broken. And after coaching over 3,000 tutors over the past 5 years, I found there's 3 main constraints that stop tutors scaling to that next revenue level. Whether you're at 10 grand a month, 50 grand a month, or 100 grand a month, the same rules apply. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what your next move is and exactly what the number in your funnel is that's broken, that's holding you back from scaling. So let's jump in. So you've got a game plan to follow and execute in 2026 to scale your online tutoring business. Let's go. So here's the first constraint. Now, the first constraint that most tutors struggle with is volume of leads. Simply put, they don't have enough leads to follow up with coming into their funnel to even make the jump to the next revenue level inside of their business. Now, this normally happens for a couple of reasons. One, the tutor is either reliant upon unpredictable lead sources, for example, referrals, posting content on social media, word of mouth students. And whilst all those methods work, they're just not scalable because you just don't have enough volume coming into the funnel to even grow your business and have enough people to speak to. All right, so this is the first issue that you need to solve as an online tutor. You need to have volume of leads coming in. Okay. Now, of course, the best way to master that is through things like paid traffic because it's quicker, it's automated, and you're able to place an ad in the marketplace and immediately get eyeballs on what it is you do and your tutoring offer. Now, a lot of tutors are doing this already. The only issue is they struggle with volume of leads coming in because their leads are too expensive. So I'm going to break down what this constraint looks like. So if you look at my tracker here on the screen, you can see I've got 2 parts of the tracker, 2 breaks in the funnel that are marked as red. So this is a tracker that we give to our clients so they can see exactly where the break or constraint is in their advertising funnels. Okay. So what we're shooting for here, if we go down the funnel, at the top, I'm looking at the 0.7%. So this is impressions into clicks. Okay, so this is us taking into consideration that you're already using some sort of paid traffic source, Meta, Instagram, YouTube, Google, whatever it might be. Now, your goal is to get 1% of the people who see your ad, okay, to click. Okay, so based on that, the click rate is a little bit low. Okay, it's not too bad. We're not miles away, but it's still in the red. It's 0.7%. What this means is your ad in the marketplace, when people are seeing it, it's not getting enough attention. Okay, which means your creative is off. So that's either the image, the video, whatever it is you're using, and the copy. Right, is even not calling out your ideal audience. Perhaps the targeting's off. Maybe it's just not desirable enough, like your promise. So the offer that you're stating in the ad is just not catching your ideal prospect's attention at the level it needs to be. So you've got a creative and copy issue, potentially a targeting issue there, okay? Which then results in the clicks you can see here, 420 clicks from the ads into 42 leads. That's a 10% opt-in rate. Now, from the people who see our form that we might be running on Facebook or application on a funnel builder, some sort of funnel building site or CRM, whatever it is you're using, you're looking for about a 20% opt-in rate. Okay, that's optimal. Okay, then you can grow and scale from there. And so the reason why this funnel is broken and the tutor isn't able to scale is really just because of these 2 red points at the top. So it gives me an indicator of what I need to fix. My opt-in rate is low, and my cost per click, okay, is $11.90, right? It's super high. So I've got an advertising issue. The way that I'm placing my ads, the copy that I'm using in my ads, the creative is completely off. So I need to fix that, which results in a CPL, so cost per lead of $119, too high. And therefore, if we look down the rest of the funnel, the leads, 42 into bookings, so people that book a call on your calendar, pretty good. 33% of people book in. We're shooting for 20% plus, ideally in this day and age. Okay, which then means my cost per booking is pretty high at $357. And I'm getting a lot of people to show up for the calls. So once I've booked a call on my calendar, 10 out of the 14, as you can see, as you go down this funnel, book in. 71% show up rate to cold traffic is great. And then calls into closes, obviously fantastic. 70% close rate, which would be phenomenal to cold traffic. Obviously, if you're speaking to just referrals organically from your social media channels, you can absolutely achieve that. But presuming if this was cold traffic, that would be fantastic, right? And so this tutor is getting a contracted revenue here of 10.5 grand. Okay, so they're hitting 6 figures in their business. They're collecting 45% of that cash up front on new sales, and they've got a ROAS, so return on advertising spend, if you look at the bottom right, okay, of 2.1. Okay, so whilst this funnel's profitable, they're not collecting enough cash though. Okay, so contracted revenue wise, revenue to ROAS, fine, but because they're only collecting 45% cash, okay, and they've spent 5 grand, if you look at the top on ad spend, this funnel isn't going to be profitable. So the reason why this tutor can't scale, and the constraint here, is the amount of leads coming through the funnel. They need to put more throughput, and the reason why is rest of the numbers are good, right? Leads into bookings, great, it's in the green. We've given it the green light, look, 33%. Bookings into calls, 71%. So show up rate to calls is fantastic. Calls into closes, phenomenal, 70%. So everything works out well. And so if the tutor wanted to make more sales, they could, of course, work on collecting more cash up front, okay? But they've got to cut their lead cost in half. So if we were to double clicks into leads, okay, take that to 20% plus, the lead volume doubles, the revenue doubles as well, okay? And therefore the cash doubles. So actually they would be in cash profit by fixing the lead flow through this funnel, okay? Because nothing else really needs to be fixed. And so better creatives, better promise, and potentially slightly different funnel, okay? So that's the main thing here, okay? Constraint number 1, fixes, improve your promise. So what result are you going to deliver for the students? Simply state that in your advertising copy and creative. Be very direct with it so you can call your ideal prospects out. You'll get them to stop more on your news feeds and get their attention, and you'll get more people coming through the funnel in what we've got. Make sure you're obviously using a predictable acquisition channel. So if your lead volume is off and you think you haven't got enough leads, I've given you an example of paid traffic here of what numbers you should be shooting for and the hidden math behind optimizing a paid traffic funnel for online tutoring growth. But if you're just using referrals, that's obviously why you can't grow. You've got to switch to a paid traffic model, better creative, so getting good on video, things like that, and potentially the funnel. Okay, so the funnel is, you could be using instant forms, you could be using Messenger once people have clicked on your ad. Okay, so there's a correct funnel, a slightly different funnel based on where you're at in terms of your business revenue and stage in your business. Okay, so there's constraint number 1. Let's move through on to constraint number 2. This is actually the biggest constraint that I see tutoring businesses struggle with once they kind of hit that 20K, 30K, even 50K a month mark in their business. They simply lack the opportunity to sell their services. So they've got lead flow. They know how to run ads. They know how to get leads. But the issue is they don't have enough of these leads that are qualified to speak to. And this becomes a big constraint. Okay, so we're going to look at the math behind fixing this constraint so that you can grow your business and what you need to do to fix it, okay? So constraint number 2, opportunity. You're getting leads, but they're not booking in to speak with you. If they are, the leads aren't qualified, or you've either got a poor show-up rate. So you're getting people book on your calendar to speak to you about your tutoring services, but they just don't follow through and they don't turn up to calls. Okay, so we'll look at why this is. Let's first break down the math behind this constraint. So you can see we've given a brief description of what the tracker looks like. So you can see the top part of the funnel now, top of funnel, we're in the green, right? We've got 1% of the impressions into clicks, so that's good. So the click-through rate's good. The cost per click, we've pretty much, cut that into thirds. So it's a third of what it was in the last example. So a little bit better there. You can absolutely still improve that. Clicks into leads, great. We're at the 20%. So we've got 500 leads here. The cost per lead, if you look in this funnel, okay, is only $20. That's a sixth of what it was in the last example. So the lead cost is good. Now you can see where the first constraint is here. Leads into bookings. We've got 500 leads, only 48 people book a call. Okay, so whilst the cost per booking is a lot better in the example before, okay, it's only $208, and the cost per lead is a lot lower, not enough of the leads are booking in. And we're going to break down why this is. So the math to achieve this and improve this is we want to get 20% of the leads booking in so that we can make sure we've got more opportunity. Okay. Now, from the bookings, you can see here, there's also another constraint in the red, bookings into calls. We've got a 47% show up rate. Okay. We want to be hitting 60% plus, ideally closer to 70%. Whereas the close rate is still okay. right? We've made 65% close rate. So the actual conversion is fine. Okay. We've brought in 10 grand in revenue there.
Guys, quick interrupt. I hope you're enjoying the video, but I wanted to make sure you picked up your copy of Teaching on Your Own Terms. It's my best-selling book, and it shares with you the exact 5 steps that I've used with over 2,000 teachers at this point, helping them build their dream online teaching businesses. It went to bestseller in 7 categories. It's been featured by NASDAQ in Times Square, New York City. And I know you're going to love it. Inside of the book, you're going to learn things like how to position yourself as the go-to tutor in the marketplace and the offer that you can create to get your ideal students reaching out and how to communicate that. I'll share with you what I've seen as the best advertising strategies to get in front of new students and parents who want what you've got, how to sell your services, and everything you actually need to include in an online group tutoring business to make sure your students crush it and get great results. There's some free gifts and bonuses in there. I think in the first couple of pages, there's a link. You can go and grab some free gifts on me. But I know you're going to love it. Teaching on Your Own Terms. I'll leave a link down below in the comments and go and pick up your copy today.
Let's move down into the next constraint. So constraint number 2 is opportunity. Now, this is where most tutors who are wanting to scale to, once they get to about like 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand a month in their business, this is quite frankly where they get stuck. So what's generally happening is here, you're getting leads. So you've got the lead issue figured out. You've got leads and volume coming into your funnel, but you're not getting enough of those leads to actually speak to you about your tutoring services, okay? Or the leads aren't qualified and you have a poor show-up rate. So people are booking in and are just not showing up for the calls. And so you basically lack the opportunity to present and sell your services. Okay, and this is a common issue. We're going to break down the numbers and the math behind this constraint and what you need to do to fix it. Okay, so let's zoom in. And so you can see here, if you look at the tracker, and we kind of touched on the numbers here in the last constraint, you can see here at the top of the funnel now we're in the green, right? So we've got a 1% CTR, so click-through rate, okay? Clicks, 2,400, so we're pretty much at a third of the cost per click to what we were before. It was about $11 before. Here it's $4. We can absolutely still improve that, and we probably do want to see it closer to $1 to $2. So there is a little bit to improve there, okay? Clicks into leads, we're at 20%, so our opt-in rate is good. Most people who see our opt-in form or ability to enter their contact details, 20% of people who see that opportunity are giving us their info. So we've got leads coming in. Okay, so cost per lead is $20 here in this example, this funnel, okay, which is a sixth of what it was before. I think it was about $115 on the last one. So we've got better creatives, better copy. We've got more volume coming through the funnel because our lead cost is obviously cheaper, and absolutely you can get better than that. But because the lead cost is cheaper, you can obviously produce more volume at a better cost, okay? But you can see where the break is in the funnel. Our leads at 500 into bookings, only 9.6% of people are booking in. So whilst the cost per booking is cheaper, if you're a tutor wanting to scale, you can imagine if you've got a calendar to speak to new prospects and across the entire month, only 48 people are booking onto your calendar, then, that's only really 10 opportunities a week. Plus, you then have to factor in show-up rate, right? And so if we look here, here's a constraint is in the red as well, 47.92%. So if you're not at like the 60% plus, ideally 70% of people who book in to speak with you show up for their calls, then, you're going to have an opportunity constraint, right? Because not many people are showing up. So if we only took 23 calls in this example here, that's about 5 a week or 6 a week across the entire month. And of course, your goal is to scale your tutoring because that's just not enough opportunity to grow and scale. So whilst the close rate might be good, and whilst here you can see the ROAS at the bottom is 2.25, we've collected 13.5 grand up front, which is a 60% collection rate, contracted revenue of 22.5 grand. So let's say that you were selling a $1,500 tutoring package, 15 closes, that's 22.5 grand. Obviously, some people might not pay the full amount up front. They might go into a payment plan or something like that. So you collected 13.5 of that up the front. Whilst you're in the profit based on what you spent on ads, the reason why you're not growing faster is exactly like what we pointed out here. Leads, not enough of booking in. We need at least 20%, okay? And poor show-up rates. Whilst you've got lead volume, you've got to fix this constraint here and to improve your funnel metrics. So here's how you do that. In order to improve that, you've got to have a better nurture system. So if you think about generating leads for your tutoring business, okay, a lead is like a seed, right? So once you've planted the seed, so you've got a lead, if you don't water the seed, you don't fertilize it like a farmer would, the seed's not going to want to take the next step. Okay, it's not going to grow, right? And so there's a growth part at each stage in your funnel. So in order for a lead who's gone from a point where they've only just heard about you from an ad, now you've got their attention, you've got to make them more interested. So wherever you send them next, you need to show them more reasons why they should take the next step and book in a call. This could be more testimonials. It could be a better video that breaks down how you help them to make them want to book in a call with you once they've arrived on your funnel pages. It could be simply better email follow-up. You could be using things like retargeting advertising so that all of the leads that you've got are continued to be nurtured. Okay. So a lot of tutors, they run ads, get a ton of leads, just lack nurture. Okay. They don't have a good lead nurture system in place, which really you need a better funnel, better case studies, better VSL, so video sales letter, to get the leads to want to take the next step. And then it's how you follow up with them via email, not just in like a 7-day follow-up sequence, but every day after that sequence, because there's always a day when your leads are going to want to take the next step. And then running things like retargeting advertising. So placing adverts around how your methodology, your unique teaching methodology works, showing testimonials in retargeting advertising, basic reminder ads to go and book a call, because maybe somebody opted into your funnel and they just got distracted. Okay. So a big reason why this also happens and tutors lack opportunity in their funnel is because once a lead does see your calendar to book in, you don't have enough availability for them to actually choose a space on your calendar because you're too busy doing all of the other stuff, which is why it's really important to delegate the teaching as fast as you can to other online tutors so that you can focus as the business owner on all of the revenue generating actions like taking calls and making sure you've got availability to take those calls as well. So if a lead sees your calendar and they can only see a couple of spots per day, well, the likelihood that they can actually attend that spot is very slim. Or if they're having to book out too far in advance, your show up rate's going to stink. Right? So the real reason why people and online tutors lack opportunity is purely just because you don't have enough availability. So to fix that, you could, of course, switch to more group sales. Again, this is really determined based on where you're at in your business. If you're only at 10 grand, 20 grand a month, you wouldn't do this. But later down the line, if you're past that, you could open up some group spots for parents to book in or students to book in. You can speak to more like in one time slot, you could speak to more parents and students. You've got to be more skilled for that. It's a more advanced strategy. Okay. Or you could hire help to improve the calendar availability. Another thing that you could do though, so that you can improve the quality of the leads coming through and so that the opportunity that you do have, it's just basically got a little bit more friction in your funnel, is add in some form of application form. Okay, so if you're not already doing that, and disqualify people based on the answers that they put and really just make it a little bit harder to actually see your calendar. Okay, that way what will happen is there's always going to be some people on the calendar that aren't quite qualified. So just add in some more friction into your funnel using things like an application form and perhaps removing people, having an assistant remove people based on their answers in the application form so that your calendar does stay efficient. And that way the spots booked on your calendar, they're better quality. So this is something you could also do. Another reason why tutors fail with this, they just don't, and they have this constraint and they're not able to hit that 20% mark of leads booking in to their calendar, is because you just suck at follow-up. Like you're just not doing enough follow-up. You're not reaching out to your leads quick enough. You're too busy building curriculum stuff, or you're too busy teaching your students. And so therefore you don't do efficient follow-up and you're reliant upon automations to do it all for you. And that just doesn't work. People need a personal touch. Okay. And that also helps with the sale too. So you can hire someone like an application setter or an application specialist to call all of your leads. And that way you've got a faster speed to lead. Okay. And as I said already, if you want to build a better nurture system, once the leads have come in, make sure you run things like retargeting ads. So specifically showing adverts to people who've already clicked on your ads and became a lead. They need to be spoken to a different way because now they've gone from cold, they don't know anything about you, to warm, where they've been in your funnel, they've checked you out, and now you just need to show them different types of content to help them take the next step if they haven't already booked it. Okay, so there's constraint number 2 fixes, and this is a big one where most tutors get stuck. Okay, constraint number 3 is profit. So basically, your funnel KPIs look good, right? So you're getting leads. So the numbers behind your funnel, you're at a 1% CTR, so click-through rate based on the impressions from your ad. 1% are clicking through. They want to see the next step. It's good. You got a cost per click. Again, it's a little bit high in this one, but it's still, you could definitely improve that with better creative. Okay. And your clicks into leads, you can see a good 20% opt-in rate. You've got leads into booking, 20%. Okay. Bookings into calls, 75%. Good show up rate. You're taking 48 calls. You're closing 50%, still in the green, which is pretty good. To cold traffic, 24 closes. Now, the issue is here. You can see we've only got, so whilst everything looks green, you might be thinking, this is pretty good. Okay, I'm green across all of my funnels. So why is my business not profitable? Why am I not able to scale? And the reason is the margins behind it. And I'll break down why this happens and why a lot of tutors can't use predictable advertising streams to grow their business. Even though they're getting leads, even though they're getting bookings, they are still just stuck in that hamster wheel of having to turn their ads off because it's not profitable and having to look for other ways to grow. Okay. So you can see here, the issue is, look, the ad spend, okay, is 12 grand. Okay. But our cash that we collected in from the ads is only 10.8, which if we made a contracted revenue of 12 grand here, that's the same as my ad spend. I did a phenomenal job and I collected 90% up front, so which is fantastic. What's the issue here? Well, the issue, of course, is the price point. And this is why a lot of tutors cannot scale their business, because the math of their business, the economics behind the business, does not support paid traffic. And so if we break this down here, 24 closes to get a contracted revenue of 12 grand, that's like $500 per student, per sign up. And this is why my return on ad spend is so low, 1. So the common issue here, and what you need to do to fix it, is just improve your pricing structure. So if you're stuck selling low monthly subscriptions that simply mean that based on what you spend on advertising, you're pretty much going to break even, this model just does not work. So you've got to improve your pricing structure, and you've got to charge upfront a higher investment for a longer period of time for your students. So you're looking at a minimum of 12 weeks at a price point of as close to $1,000 as you can, if you're not already at that point. And then based on your offer, so the subject that you teach, what you do for your students, you really do want to raise it past that. Okay. And so a lot of our clients, what they do is they'll initially start selling at 12 weeks. Once they've got more experience, they'll then perhaps present the entire academic year offer to the parents and students. And not everybody's going to take this, but obviously that allows them to collect and contract more revenue up front to make their advertising efforts more profitable. Okay. So you've got to have a higher price point to sell on the front end, because if you're stuck selling by the hour, which you absolutely should not be, or low monthly subscriptions as an online tutor, you do not have the margins to continue to grow and scale your business, because you can't hire staff, you can't hire people to follow up with your leads, and therefore you keep having to turn your ads off. Okay. So you've got to improve your pricing structure, number 1, which is mostly the case in the math behind this constraint. Okay. Another way that you could do this, if you need to bring more cash in to make your advertising efforts work with a system like this, because let's say you were selling a lower price point and you were struggling to raise it, well, what you could do is improve your current student LTV, so lifetime value, how long students stay with you. And what you could do is simply make sure once a student became a student, then you give them something else that they could potentially enroll into. You could quickly upsell them into an entire academic year package. Okay. Once they've kind of learned to trust you, once they've seen some initial results, you could extend them an offer to keep working with you for longer and give them some bonuses in order to do that, some incentives. You might have some form of other product or service or subject that you could even offer your students once they came in as well. So the key would be to get each of your students to just pay you more once they're in the door. Okay. And this would allow you to be more profitable and allow you to keep spending on your advertising. Another thing you could do is obviously improve your funnel metrics. Okay. So if I was to look at this funnel, you're obviously looking for the break in the funnel. And if I wanted to get more leads booked in, which could make it more profitable, then I might have to improve my nurture system like we covered in the opportunity constraint. I might have to produce better advertising creative so I can lower my cost per click. So you've also got to look at your funnel metrics as well. But the main reason why tutors struggle with this constraint and their advertising efforts aren't profitable enough is just because the margins are so poor down to your price point. Okay, so you've got to fix that. So here's what the gold standard KPIs look like to scale. Okay, so if your goal is to scale to 50 grand, 100 grand a month as an online tutor, here's what you're looking for. Okay, impressions into clicks, you're looking at 1%, 20% lead opt-in rate, you can see here, which we covered. Leads into bookings, 20%. Bookings into calls. Obviously this is a fantastic show-up rate to cold traffic, nearly 80%. 38 calls into 19 closes, a 50% conversion rate on the people you speak to. And you can see here, I've got a contracted value of these 19 closes at 38 grand. Okay. Simply put, that's about a $2,000 price point, right? So having the right price point in place allows the margins to be a lot better and the math behind the funnel to actually work to scale. My collection rate's fantastic. I'm on a 3.8 ROAS. So in order to scale your tutoring business, you can be absolutely a lot higher than that, but you want to be shooting for in between that 3 to 5x ROAS at a minimum as an online tutor to scale. Most likely in the beginning, somewhere between like 5 to 8, 5 to 10 is more preferable. Okay. And then obviously once you hire a team, you start to grow, you are going to see some diminishing returns. Okay. Now here's some example benchmarks, the math behind your funnel to help you scale. So cost per lead. Okay. To get that in benchmark, it does depend on the niche and the subject. So cost per lead isn't everything. It's subjective based on your price point, which type of student you're selling to, what your offer is, that type of stuff. Okay. So, lower lead cost doesn't always mean better leads. Okay. So booking rate, look, from the amount of leads that you get, so people who give you their contact details, you're looking at 20% plus. Show up rate from your ads, 67%, close rate 25 to 40% plus. And then marketing and labor, this is a big one. So when you do your profit and loss at the end of the month as a tutor, you don't want to have marketing and labor to combine together to take up more than 55% on your P&L. So if you were to break it down, your marketing probably wants to be somewhere about 20% of your P&L. Okay. So you can work that out. If your goal was to bring in 100 grand, then 20% of that is what? 20 grand a month on advertising, which would also give you a 5x return on ad spend based on your ads, right? So that's the type of math you want to look at. And a tutoring business is probably going to be more labor heavy than the actual marketing side. The reason being is simply because you want to hire tutors and teams to help you support the delivery and fulfillment of your business to make sure students can get outstanding results so that you as the business owner can spend more time on those growth activities, speaking to new students, following up with leads, improving your marketing, making more enrollments. Okay. And that's where you need to spend most of your time, not in delivery and fulfillment. Okay. So if you want us to fix this for you, like we did with, for example, Marcus, who scaled to 6 figures, you can see here, he did a 50 grand month. He did 43 grand. That's in pounds, which is 58,000 US dollars. Okay. In a single month. Okay. He collected 15 grand of that in a single day because he was using, strategies to boost lifetime value of his students. Okay. So that his current students would pay him more. Okay. Alan, for example, was hitting 100 grand months without a major push and even promotions. Okay. He did 7 figures in sales in his tutoring business. And that's because they're able to identify the math and the constraint behind their business so they can fix it and they can make sure they operate based on data, based on math, which makes scaling a tutoring business more predictable. And quite frankly, there's nobody that's seen more tutoring businesses in the space than us here at the Teacher Project. So we've worked with over 3,000 tutors since we launched back in 2020, and that's growing daily. So if you're an online tutor who wants to improve your current business and scale to the next level, whether you're at 10 grand a month, 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand, even 100 grand a month, we can help you and improve your KPIs so you can scale to the next level. Okay, all you need to do, click the link somewhere around this video, probably underneath, head onto our site, fill out an application and book in a game plan call with my team. And we'll show you exactly what we would do if we were you to help you get to that next level in your business. Speak to you soon. If you enjoyed the video, hit subscribe, hit like. I'll see you in the next one.